Good evening and welcome to Good News on Entertainment. I'm your host, Carly Boyette. We have a thrilling show for you tonight. A little later, we're going to get an update on a production that continues to travel the country and leave audiences in awe. It's called The Thorn. More on that in just a little bit. But first tonight, I want to invite you to take a trip to the movie theater for a real adventure. Legends of the Lost Ark is a Fathom event, and it's a documentary that investigates 3 significant ancient legends that speak of the fate of the Ark. The entire adventure is led by Dr. Chris McKinney, who is the Associate Professor of Archaeology at Lipscomb University in Nashville. Some may call him a modern Indiana Jones. I had a chance to sit down with him while in Nashville at this year's NRB. Before my conversation with him, let's go ahead and take a closer look at Legends of the Lost Ark, coming to theaters on April 12th, 14th, and 15th.
Searching for the Ark of the Covenant is what they call very high risk, very, very high reward.
It would be the most major find in archaeology.
This is that big what-if question.
The Ark of the Covenant, infinite power, settled on a temporal vessel, the very throne of God. But in a moment, it was lost.
All of a sudden, gone.
What happened to one of the most religiously significant objects?
Many have searched for the Ark.
Buried treasure is always going to be a very romantic and enticing story.
Legends have whispered of the Ark's fate.
Every legend is based on some aspect of truth.
But can it be found?
My goal is to put an X marks the spot for where the legend's pointing to.
Chris has investigated these legends more thoroughly than ever before.
Was it hidden? Was it destroyed? The Ark of the Covenant, we know, was in Jerusalem for about 400 years.
The Babylonians come and destroy Jerusalem in 586 BC.
And then it disappears.
Is it possible to sift through history, myth, tradition, and discover the actual events of the past?
Oftentimes, the tradition gets it right. And sometimes tradition is way off. What do the historical sources say? Are you in the right geographical setting? Is it just a crazy coincidence? Is it possible that this is where the Ark of the Covenant was hidden? Trying to locate with an X on the ground can be really difficult.
These legends are pointing to that hope that the story is not yet over.
To find the Ark, you must immerse yourself in the legends. But will the Ark be found?
Oh, we're in for a treat today. Of course, NRB is a great place to find out about what's coming up, what's coming out. And one of the big ones that a lot of people are talking about is Legends of the Lost Ark, which as soon as you say that, you know that it sparks conversation, which is what I'm so excited to do with you today, Dr. Chris McKinney. How do you best describe kind of your background?
I'm addicted to biblical archaeology and the world of the Bible. And so I'd say it all started as a teenager, going to Israel for the first time. I'd already been really interested in history and seeing this is a real place, this is real material, and the Bible is God's word. And how do I want to invest myself in my life in studying it? I can either look at texts that people have been looking at for 2,000 years, and there's a space for that, and studying it, we need it. Or we can find new stuff that is coming right out of the ground that consistently tells us more about the surprising and interesting and fascinating world of biblical archaeology. And so obviously I went with the latter, and I've spent many years overseas as a teacher, an archaeologist, a geographer, and in that process, eventually found the subject of the Ark of the Covenant, which is what this film is about.
So why, it feels like this is one of those things that really, again, as I mentioned, stays at the topic of conversation of like what we want to find and where the mystery surrounding it.
Sure.
Has that always been like that for you as a kid?
It has, but I'd say one of the funny things about the Ark is obviously when people say lost Ark, especially that term, they either think Ark like Noah's Ark, which is actually more famous, but even though it's mentioned like 20 times in the Bible, and the Ark of the Covenant's mentioned 250 times in the Bible, or they think of Indiana Jones, which I will never cast aspersions at Steven Spielberg, George Lucas, and Harrison Ford. It's an excellent film, and they do a great job. But because of the way people think about the Ark, they kind of see it as either off limits or for a conspiracy theory approach. Oh, it's over here, and it's Oak Island, or it's underneath the crucifixion site of Jesus, and it becomes this thing for scholars or for archaeologists like myself that we're not going to touch that because it's seen as beyond what we can really approach. And I think that's a mistake. And what we do in this film is really try to look at it not from the perspective of we have to explain everything away through archaeology, but what would an Ark of the Covenant look like for real in ancient Israel? Like, what are the things? Well, first of all, what is an ark?
Yeah.
We don't use it today. It's just a chest. That's all it is. And what would a chest look like covered in gold? Where does that come from? And it turns out in ancient Egypt, in precisely the time in which the biblical story takes place, they were making exactly these types of objects with these sacred images on tops and poles carried by priests. And so that's another aspect of first answering the question, even if you're looking for it in the first place, what does it look like? Like, what is it? We can't seem to agree in our own art. So that's one of the questions. But then looking closely at not modern conspiracy theories or ideas, but what did the ancients who had the ark among them and then lost it, what would an ancient Judean who has now a new temple standing with an empty room where the ark used to be in the Holy of Holies, what did they think about it, and explore those legends?
From what I gather, I think this is really going to, especially people who love history and biblical, it's going to, the audience is great, the appeal for it. I think believers and non-believers, just if you're just a history fan, it sounds like is going to be
That's
great
definitely
for
the
this.
case. That's definitely the case. That's our hope, anyway. I consider this to be a kind of love letter to biblical archaeology. It's when I was a kid, when I was invested in this, being able to touch or smell the destruction of Jerusalem or some city, you're a part of it. And that's what this is really all about, is being a part of the story. And we actually are a part of the story. I mean, today we live in the West, which is founded on the Judeo-Christian values that we have in the Ten Commandments. Those commandments were kept in the Ark of the Covenant. If you're in a synagogue, you take out your scroll from a Torah ark that's modeled after the Ark of the Covenant. So it's not a subject that's far away. It's something that's built into our religious architecture and our minds until this very day. And we can uncover more and more of it through archaeology. So I completely agree.
What has this done for your faith? And I'd imagine the people that you work with too, there is something about, and there's people that are like, listen, the word is the word, we're going to believe it. But there is something when you can add that historical component of like, listen, there's stuff out here, like, that backs what the Bible says. I'd imagine that's got to have increased your faith over the years.
Definitely. And I would say a lot of people, when they think of archaeology, the first thing they go to is, how can we weaponize this for either, I like to say there's two types of biblical archaeology documentaries. There's one, everything in the Bible is false, and if you think any of it's got some historicity, you're an idiot. And on the other side, everything in the Bible is absolutely true, we according to my view, and if you don't think otherwise, you're an idiot. But the truth is not really in the middle. It's the biblical world in which the stories of the Exodus and the stories of Jesus is a real world that we can touch, that we can feel. We can go to Jerusalem, Megiddo, all the places that are there, and experience that culture. And the Ark is actually the most important physical object. And we don't have the one we can touch, but it's the most important physical object from that world. So studying it, it becomes like the part for the whole. I always like to think, because I'm also you asked me about my faith, and I'd say it's both of kind of an apologetic of realia, but it also is this object, because I'm also a massive fan of the Inklings and Lewis and J.R.R. Tolkien and the world of the Lord of the Rings. If the Ark, or the story of the Hebrew Bible and the New Testament, could be boiled down to one object, as the Lord of the Rings is about one object, the only object that qualifies is the Ark, because its creation, it goes back to the cherubim in the Garden of Eden. The cherubim are on the ark. It comes into the story with Moses and Mount Sinai. We have the Ten Commandments. It goes into the Temple of Solomon. It's lost at the most catastrophic moment with the destruction of the temple. And when they rebuild it, they're like, where is it? Where's it coming back? And Pentecost, right? We have God's Spirit returning, not going into a building, but into people. And so it's this one object that 66 books and even stuff in between that, one object that we can say, if we just have this, we can see the threads that go out in all these different directions that tie the whole story together. And in the middle of that is the Ten Commandments and the scroll of the law. So it's a fascinating topic.
So I have to ask, I don't know how much you can answer because what's in the film, but what is your thought? Where is it? Like, you think we'll ever find it? Like, what?
So it's a good question, and I would say we got to watch the film to find out what I think. But I will say this, that all of the legends that we discuss, they say different things about where it is, but they all agree that, first of all, Jeremiah, the prophet, was the one who hid the ark, and they all agree that the ark was hidden and that it must return in some way. And more than that, the return will bring about some cosmic change in the restoration of Israel, the restoration of the temple, and the restoration of all things in surprising ways, because it's not the New Testament, but in ways that are, most of these are written a couple centuries before the New Testament, in ways that are consistent with the New Testament. Mainly that the law, which is in the Ark of the Covenant, will now be poured out upon people, and so they'll have God's Spirit inside of them. And so what's going to happen, when it's going to be revealed, I'll just, it might sound like a cop-out, but Jesus gave the same cop-out on the Mount of Olives when they asked, when are all these things going to take place, Jesus? And he said, no man knows the day or hour, not even the Son of Man. So I think the right answer is, I don't know, and that's the biblical answer.
Yeah. All right. I love it. Well, and I told you before we got started, my thought, I'm like, Jesus came. Like, he's it. Like, that's what we're, in some ways, it's already come back, right? And we're waiting for its second return.
I agree. Well, and I just comment and say that in some sense, the real one was never lost because it is God's throne. Moses sees the vision and then makes something physical. And yet I also believe that if the Ark of the Covenant is an incarnation, that is to taking on a flesh, which is what John 1 talks about, that going back to Exodus, that God came into the tabernacle and dwelled among his people, that by doing so, it leaves something that you have to stay in that shape. And my evidence for that is Jesus himself. Or Jesus condescends. He doesn't leave his body. He resides forever like us as the mediator between God and man. And so I don't get to decide if it's there or not. I always like to say, God wrote an excellent book and an excellent script, but is the only director or writer where the movie will be better than the book. And so he'll decide how it actually gets revealed.
Again, the film is out April 12th, 14th, and 15th. Go to legendsofthelastark.com for more info. Okay, now from the movie theater to the stage. Have you seen or heard of The Thorn yet? We have highlighted this amazing production a couple times on Good News on Entertainment now, and it is worth repeating and reminding you to go and see it if it's coming to a venue near you. Before I talk with the creator of this incredible production, take a look for yourself on why this is a performance of the gospel like you have never seen before.
So, John, we've been catching up before we hit record here. And I told you before we got started, you were one of the very first interviews I did when I took over Good News on Entertainment. And I just remember being so excited about what your team has been doing for years. And to now, like, fast forward, I think it's been probably maybe 2 years since we've, talked.
Yeah.
I get so excited when I see the Thorn just continuing to move to different cities and just still thriving, because it's what I knew. It's this beautiful presentation of the gospel. And I'm so excited that you guys have just still been given the road to continue.
Well, thank you so much. And it's such a joy and an honor to be back with you again. It's like a full circle moment for me from what God was doing. Though it was 3 years ago, 2023 was when we had our first interview together, and we had just released the Thorn film, and we were taking this major risk on this Performing Arts Center and arena tour, our first secular tour ever. And we had no idea if it would work. And you were so encouraging and prophetic even about like what God was doing through the arts and through the Thorn. And now here we are 3 years later, and I'm just so overcome with gratitude for what God has done and for you and your encouragement along the way. I'm telling you, there were so many people that God put in my path over the last 3 years at just the right moment to speak life, to speak hope, to speak encouragement. And you're one of those. So thank you so much for that. And I'm thrilled to be with you again today.
I just love how sovereign God is. We were encouragement to each other. So talk about, because I went and saw it when it was here in my local city in Tampa, which I'm so thankful. There's like several stops in Florida on this tour, but you're all over. So my first question was, so what if someone's seen it before, like myself? What say you about, let's seeing it again? And you said there's actually kind of some changes.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We're very conscious that people that go, they want two things. They want something a little bit new and different to see and hear and watch, but they also want to make sure that it still holds true to what they remember. So you want the main anchor things to be there. So they say, oh yeah, this is as good as I saw before, but also there's some new things so they can have some surprises along the way. So we've engineered that. So there are moments in the show, special effect moments, music. There's some music that has changed since you saw it last. There's choreography that has changed since you saw it last. The cast, I would say at least half of the cast is new from what you would have seen in 2023. And the cast we have right now, I mean, they're amazing. This cast is just breathtaking. Their ability, their talent, their physical performance, across the board, this is a really, really special cast we have on the road right now. And so I think the cast level and quality and all of that is really phenomenal this time around. And then we've got new special effects, new music, new blocking. And so it will feel like a lot of the show is brand new to you.
Well, and just for my city alone, I saw it when it was an arena, and there's very cool things that you can do. You can really pack a lot of people into an arena too. But I do know, like in my area at the Strat Center, it's such a beautiful theater and place to see shows, that you were saying there's even some little things you can do differently just on the stage, that you have and the workings around it.
That's right. When you're in an arena, we try to lean into this big, epic arena experience. And so that's different. That's unique. And you can't get that in a more intimate environment like a performing arts center. However, a performing arts center, it's a little more comfortable. Usually it's kind of that, instead of the popcorn and beer crowd, it's a little bit more of that, that wine and caviar crowd at the performing arts center. And the seats are comfortable. The environment is created to watch the show in this proscenium arch. And so it's just a different kind of show when you watch it in a performing arts center. A lot of people like to dress up, with their date and make it a really special evening together. And the Performing Arts Center leans into that. And also, I believe that in a lot of these performing arts centers, that's where culture says the best stories have been told. Whether it's Les Mis or Phantom of the Opera.
Well, I was just going to say, that's what I want people to know. This is of the same caliber that you're going to see on Broadway. And just how Broadway shows travel. This is what the Thorn, it's the same top-notch level. I cannot stress that enough.
And I'm telling you, what's been so amazing, there's so much I want to say that's happened in the last 3 years since we last talked, but in these venues, we our company and our ministry, we believe there's kind of three spheres of influence that we have as a company. The middle one is our cast and crew. So we know that part of our mission is to really be the hands and feet of Jesus and an encouragement to these incredible artists that have come to be part of the Thorn for a season or longer, and a lot of them, they need encouragement or healing, and just to know there's other people that love Jesus that are in the performing arts. And so that discipleship of that group is such an important, special thing. At the end of each tour, we do a water baptism, and sometimes in a pool or the ocean or whatever. And it's amazing to watch the transformation in so many of these cast and crew lives over the course of the tour. And the tours are long. I mean, we started the spring tour in early February, and it doesn't end until mid-May. So they're on the road for months. They become a family, really. But that's the middle circle. The next circle out would be the industry. And so we really feel like we get to be a light to venue managers and ticket takers and ushers and greeters and gnarly union workers and all of that. And then the outside circle would be, of course, our audience that we are there to serve and tell this story to and set the table for and bring our very, very best A game to present the story of Jesus in a way that is elevated. But there's so many stories of venue people that are just amazing. I can't tell you how many times I've stood in the back of these performing arts centers with ushers and ticket takers holding programs in their hand and bawling their eyes out. And Jesus is doing a work in them. I've been backstage before shows, and some of these union workers that are tatted up and pretty rough, and then afterwards they're sobbing and lifting me in the air saying, "Thank you for being here." We've been welcomed in cities since we last chatted. We've been welcomed in cities from Seattle to Miami, from Newark all the way to San Diego, and in some of the kind of roughest or most quote unquote secular cities in America is where the Thorn has thrived. Sold out in Seattle, sold out in Austin, Texas, sold out across California, across New York. I mean, it's just been a miracle to watch what God has done. And so I think we can see it. And I think everyone knows it, from The Chosen to the Wonder Project to all the incredible Christian things happening in the arts. People are hungry for the gospel. They're hungry for Jesus, and they're coming in droves. And it's such a miracle with the Thorn at these performing arts centers, because we have Protestants and Catholics and Baptists.
That was my next point. Yes, you can feel comfortable bringing anyone.
Yeah.
And really non-believers too, I think you can feel good about. I mean, just the quality of loan of just saying, hey, like you're seeing a great show that just you would on Broadway. I mean, anybody is welcome, and I think is going to appreciate the art of it.
Well, it's funny. I've had several stories. Thank you for that. Several stories of people that literally have told us afterwards. Sarah, my wife, Sarah, was behind somebody at the box office the other day, and she was getting her tickets, and pretty rough type person getting the tickets, and said the box office person said, "What do you want to get tickets for?" And she said, "Well, the Thorn thing." And she said, "Okay, well, do you know what this Thorn's about?" You're like, "Yeah, it's this whole Jesus thing." And I that's not me, but I've heard so much about it that I have to go to the show. And so that kind of thing is happening. We were in Newark, New Jersey. I was standing with Sarah in the lobby after the show. And this guy from New York City, very like New York cool kind of a guy, comes into the lobby, looks for my wife, who had been on stage as kind of a host. So he recognized her. And you could tell he was on the verge of tears. And he burst into tears, sobbing, and just fell onto her and said, "I don't believe any of this. I don't believe in Jesus. I don't believe in God, but that's the most powerful story I've ever heard in my life." So when that happens, we know that the seed of the gospel is being planted in people that otherwise would never hear it. We had a venue manager, a guy who was a Jewish guy in one of our cities, and he was a good venue manager, very exact and specific about all the things. But after the show, he burst into my wife's production office again, sobbing in tears, saying, "I've heard about Jesus my whole life, but I've never heard the story." I'm telling you those stories over and over again. After we were with you in Tampa, we went to Miami. There was a lady in Miami that she heard about the Thorn through Facebook, and for something in her said, "I just need to go to this." She'd never been to church a day in her life. The only like religious experience she'd ever had was voodoo, so Miami is not too far from Haiti. And that was her experience, was voodoo. And so, but she said, I think I'm supposed to go to this show. So she bought tickets. She went to the show. She wept through the whole thing. After the show was over, she burst into the lobby and she cried out, "What must I do to be saved?" I'm not even kidding. And one of the cast nearby said, "Quick, find a bowling." My wife was over there. by the merch department. And so we prayed with her. We gave her a Bible. We helped her find a local church. And so I'm telling you, those stories have been on repeat for 3 years. Thousands and thousands of stories of people that have been introduced to who Jesus is in an environment where you might least expect it.
Yeah. Well, and if people have not heard the full story, we didn't get that into that this time, just to see how this has grown over the years, and to think that this was, I mean, it wasn't a small church. I mean, you were at a larger church, but just to see how this thing has grown and multiplied, and how you and your wife have just been obedient over the years to really listening to what God has called you to do, is absolutely remarkable. And people is that still on your YouTube page?
Yes, there's a 10-minute documentary about the beginning of the Thorn, and that documentary ends with, and now this year we're releasing the movie and going for the very first time to performing arts centers and arenas. That's how that documentary ends. And in fact, I just had a phone call earlier today with our videographer, and they're working on a new documentary that will document from that day to today what happened the last 3 years. And so that will kind of be the next step. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, well, John, what a treat it's been to catch up with you and to see how God is continuing to use this magnificent show. And I cannot wait to go see it again. And we're going to continue to pray that God just, again, uses it to get his word into the people and draw people closer to him. So again, just thank you to you and your wife for being obedient and diligent and working hard to get this all over the country and continuing to do that.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always a blessing to be on your show. We're so excited. If anybody's interested in attending one of the Thorn live performances, we now tour every spring and every fall and return to every city about every 18 to 24 months. So if you don't see your city on the calendar or on the schedule, it's coming. Trust me. We've been all the way up to Canada. We did shows in Spanish last year, and it was amazing. So you can see the schedule is at thethorn.com. So that's www.thethorn.com. And then click on tickets and you can see our current schedule. It's all over the country. We'll be releasing the fall schedule soon. And so if you don't see us in the spring or fall, then we're coming up at some time in the future. And a little hint at an upcoming surprise is we are at the very early stages right now of working on our brand new Christmas production called The Arrival, which will premiere this Christmas, 2026, in 9 cities in the Southeast as our little bit of an experiment.
Oh, I can't wait to see what they have planned for the Christmas season. Meanwhile, go to thethorn.com to see when and where this show is coming next. Well, that's all for tonight. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you have any questions about what you saw tonight, just go to ctnonline.com. Again, I'm Carly Boyette, and I look forward to seeing you next week right here on your Christian Television Network.